Our first viewer tonight writes as follows. I am 40 years old with an 8-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and once again I'm divorced for the third time. I'm a stay-at-home mom going to school. I can feel your discouragement from here, and it's a very common phenomenon. Without additional tools, without new perspectives, without new information, we just keep repeating the same behaviors. So we recreate the past over and over again. In order to change, we require more than just willpower. It's a very common mantra among personal development gurus, to stand up in front of a crowd, and of course these are guys, who are already making millions of dollars, and to say with this enthusiasm just bounding from them, and they say, all you have to do is want it, and you can have it. Anything you want, you can do. The only person in your way is yourself. Cute little aphorisms like that. But in most cases, without outside help, without a significant change in what we know and how we see things, it doesn't matter how much willpower we exercise. We're going to keep doing the same stuff. So that's one of the goals here at Real Love, is just to give people additional information, new perspectives, so that we can see things differently, because after I see differently, I will feel different, I will behave differently, and it all starts with the way we see. So let's see if we can change the way you see things, if you want. You say, I never had real love from my parents growing up. My dad was physically abusive, my mom mentally abusive, and I was never told I love you, only you are worthless. How common is that? And when I say that not to minimize your pain, not at all. Hearing I don't love you is the worst wound on the planet, but to share with you how it's not about you. This happens all over the globe every second to thousands of people. Well, millions probably every second. People hearing I don't love you. So it's not uncommon. It's not because of who you were or who you are. It's because of the lack of love of the people who are given responsibility for loving you. You continue. So, needless to say, I went through my high school years and adulthood needing a man. And, well, I've never gone without one and have actually overlapped them. The rewards, the temporary rewards from sexual relationships are profound and too many to count. We feel worthwhile, we feel praised, flattered, physical pleasure, it just goes on and on. And it's very seductive. We tend to use the word seductive in terms of a woman seducing a man. Occasionally, man seduce. We tend to view it as a victim-y thing. Somebody seduces somebody else. Actually, we're all seduced by the pleasures, the rewards, temporary, superficial though they are, of imitation love. They just trick us, just suck us right in, because they really do feel good. It really does feel good to be valued for something. And if you haven't got anything else, if you're not being valued unconditionally, then being valued for your sexual appeal is very exciting. And it's obvious that the vast majority of us are interested in appealing to people on the basis of sex. Hence, the way sex is used to advertise just virtually everything, from trucks to homes to blenders. So here you've had these men, and it's made you feel good temporarily, but like you said, here I am, divorced for the third time. You continue, I've never really dated, because my first husband I met at 15 because he lived across the street. The second was my brother-in-law's brother, and the third I worked with, and again, they all overlapped. I did have flings in between, but they were just sexual. I always jumped in with both feet before I even knew the other person, and then I figured that I could fix whatever problems cropped up later. I give my all and do everything for my partner, I guess, to make myself indispensable, worthy, needed. You've really got the picture, kid. Without feeling unconditionally loved, you are willing to do whatever it took to get some feeling of worth, praise, imitation love in any form. And in order to get it, you virtually advertised, and we don't realize the many ways that we do it, with our words, with our posture, with our facial expressions. You advertised with your whole being that you were willing to give to a potential partner anything he wanted so that he'd like you. And it would be easy to demonstrate that. The way that we respond to a conversation, our posture as we lean in towards somebody who is of interest to us, all of those little clues. You were a walking billboard that said, I'm willing to be used. Well, darling, there's going to be no shortage of people who are willing to use you. But because you advertised yourself to men, no shortage of men. And so they just, flocked to you. Like you said, you didn't even have to wait. They overlapped. The guy across the street, anybody who would have walked by would have been sufficient for you. And in the beginning, it feels pretty good. But then the end comes, as you've noticed. You continue. The first husband was physically and mentally abusive. The second, physically abusive. And the third, mentally abusive. So I married either my mom or dad or combination thereof. Of course we do this. And there are actually schools of thought who say that we pick out partners who are like our parents because we want to work out our unresolved issues with our parents. Oh, we're not nearly that clever. There isn't anybody who's looking for a partner who thinks, that guy's just like my dad, and I never really worked things out with my dad, so maybe I can work it out with that guy. Please. Not even subconsciously are we that clever. However, it does make sense that we marry somebody or are attracted to people who are very much like our parents. For what reason? Imagine that you were in a foreign country. You were in Germany, and you spoke no German, none. And you were surrounded by people who spoke German just as fast as they could go, and you'd feel kind of out of place, wouldn't you? And you're at a party or a restaurant or wherever, and in the midst of all this German speaking, you hear, and you could pick it out from a mile. Even if you couldn't understand the words, you would recognize the tone, the phrasing of English. Over there in the corner, there's somebody speaking English. Well, you'd be irresistibly drawn to them, wouldn't you? Now, in the moment that you're drawn to them, you're not assessing whether they're going to be overall good for your growth, going to contribute to your genuine happiness. No, you're just going to be attracted to the familiarity of their language. We do the same thing with people and personality traits and the ways that they offer imitation love. We can spot the forms of imitation love that people offer from across the street. And when we see somebody who's trading in a way that's familiar, and after all, what would be familiar? What we grew up with, what our parents taught us. We'll be attracted to that person. Even if we swore we never wanted to be in a relationship with somebody who was like our parents. It doesn't matter. We're drawn to what we know. And so, of course, you ended up with people who are various combinations of your parents and didn't mean to. Then you continue. This is the longest period of time that I have been without someone sexually, which is 1.5 years. So here you're 40-something. I can't remember now. I think you just said 40. I don't want to make you older than you are. 40 years old, and this is the longest time since you were probably in puberty that you've been out without somebody sexually, because it was the thing that you had to trade with guys. Guys will fall for an offer of sexual attraction just Most guys, instantly. Well, so you used what you had. You continue. I understand that I'm only used to imitation love and need to, as you say, spend time telling the truth about myself with people who are capable of loving me unconditionally. Which, when I start feeling this lonely and miserable feeling, I withdraw and don't open up to anybody. In other words, I use protecting behaviors. So it's understandable that this is scary to you, to do this differently, to tell the truth about yourself to people. And what we usually do is we wait until we feel completely safe and comfortable with somebody before we'll tell them the truth. It's completely backward. You're never really going to feel safe and comfortable with somebody until you first make the decision to tell the truth and find out whether they can accept you unconditionally. That's faith. It's the definition of faith, is that you tell the truth first before you know what the results will be. Now, you don't have to do it blind. You don't have to walk out and randomly on the street tell the truth about yourself to people. You can pick people who you can read it in their faces. Just as we are expert at reading the way people offer imitation love, we can become just as attuned to whether or not people are safe, whether they would tend toward being accepting of us. And that doesn't mean accepting of us if we offer them sex. You already nailed that. You got that. No, I mean accepting of you when you tell the truth about your mistakes and flaws. The more you tell the truth, the more you'll get to where you can identify that quality, the quality of being accepting, from miles off. But you only learn that skill as you actually do it. Many people have said to me, well, I'd tell the truth if I knew they'd accept me. Well, yeah, but you can only really find that out as you do it. So I recommend that. You said I've been in therapy on and off since I was 15, which has helped some, but obviously not enough. I'm feeling the lonely and miserable feelings that are starting to affect me with my kids because I just want to mope around, not do anything. I signed up for all those stupid Match.com and eHarmony websites only to feel more depressed because nothing has popped up, although I've only given it a month and never really invested, totally in the process. Until you really know what real love is, till you know what it feels like, you know what it looks like, till you have the flavor of it, you don't want to date. You don't even want to think about dating, because you'll go out and you'll repeat the same pattern, and I know you don't want to. So feel sufficient unconditional love from other women, from anybody that you would not have any sexual distraction from, and then let them tell you when you're ready to go out and date. I'm in the process, you say, of reading Real Love, which is helping me more than therapy ever did. And I know that I need to read all the books, but is there something that I can do in the meantime to get me through the lonely, miserable phase, since I'm having a hard time allowing myself to get the real love that I need? Very important during this time when you're kind of in a withdrawal. It really is a form of withdrawal from your addiction, which is, the approval, praise, and so on of men. It's very important that you not give in to that. We can't know what life would be like sober and sane until we go without our drug long enough. That's the problem with using drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, whatever, to numb our feelings, is that we reach out for it, grab it, numb our pain. Now we've robbed ourselves of an opportunity to learn what it's like to experience genuine resolution of pain by getting what we really need. And so we keep shortcutting the process. It will never change until we stop using and get what we really need. So make conference calls. They're all over the website. There's a conference call or two every day of the week. Make individual calls. You might even practice just calling up people that you have, been telling the truth to, and just say, "Do you still love me?" It sounds like such a almost silly question. It's not. It's the question on all of our minds, isn't it? As we're talking to somebody, after learning all of these foolish, stupid things about me, do you still love me? I get phone calls from people pretty much every day, and that's all they're asking. Do you still love me? That's what we want to know. So why piddle around? Why not go right to the question? We don't have to bring up an issue, or we don't have to have a deep discussion. We just want to know if the person on the other end of the line still cares about us. So ask them and see what happens. It's fun. It also puts us in a uniquely vulnerable position, because when I say to you, do you still love me? It opens me up to be hurt, sure, but it also opens me up to actually feeling the love that somebody would offer me. Whereas when I spend the whole conversation yammering and talking about issues and so on, sometimes all those words just become a distraction. They become something that gets between us rather than forming a connection between us. Here's a note from a lady who, let's see, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm not exactly sure which it was, whose husband was filing for divorce, and obviously marriage was miserable, and because she would wear tight skirts and low-cut blouses and kept communicating with other guys, and when she got frustrated, would actually pour hot liquids over her hands just to cause burns and get attention. And I recommended that she think more about how to be loving toward her husband instead of constantly demanding what she wanted. In other words, well, I can wear short skirts if I want to. Well, you can, but once you're in a partnership, once you're in a relationship that you anticipate being long-term, not just a brief sexual fling, if that's what you want to have, you don't have to do anything. Do whatever you want to. It'll be fun, sure, in the short term. But if you're looking for a long-term relationship with somebody, you don't get to continue just doing what you want. That doesn't mean you have to give up being you. No, not at all. But I've had innumerable people say to me, well, I just get to be me. Yeah, you do. And if you're with a partner, you also have to adapt to your partner's needs. Otherwise, why be in a partnership? That's the whole point of being in a partnership, is to learn to be loving, which means sometimes giving my partner what wouldn't be entirely convenient for me. Otherwise, it's not love, it's just convenience. You just will hire somebody to be your partner for a weekend if you're going to keep just being you. So I made these suggestions, and she wrote back and said, I watched the video chat, that's the one where I gave the advice I just described, and felt, wow, like I should learn to be loving first instead of being, constantly thinking, why did he restrict me? Why did he control me? I want to do what I want. I'm constantly bothered by him not allowing me to wear tight skirts, and I'm bothered that he's annoyed that I add guy friends on Facebook and so on. And all I was doing was thinking about myself. And my friends made it worse by agreeing with me, so I was focused on me, me, me. So good for you that you've seen that the way you were behaving was just completely self-oriented. I'm not telling you you're bad, not telling you have no right to wear tight skirts. No, you can if you want to, but you're living with a man who finds it threatening that you wear tight clothes, low-cut blouses, and talk to guy friends on Facebook. Actually, that would be true of 95+% of guys would be bothered by that. That's a little threatening, because what you're doing is, with all those things, the tight skirts, the low-cut blouses, what are you doing? You're advertising not your soul, you're advertising sex. Hello? What other reason is there to do those things? And who wouldn't be threatened by that if they were in a committed long-term relationship with you? So you're seeing the selfishness of that, and you're also seeing that your friends helped you to feel like a victim. Your friends would laugh at you if you talked about giving up. the tight skirts, for example, and the low-cut blouses. Friends would tend to say, oh, well, he doesn't have the right to control you. And the reason that they would say things like that is, A, to win your favor, but a big part of it is, B, they would say those things because they don't want to give up anything in being a relationship of their own. And so if they support you in being selfish, then it helps to kind of lend an air of credibility to their being selfish. If you surround yourself with selfish people, your selfishness doesn't exactly stick out, does it? So it makes them feel better about themselves. So, being around that kind of friend would be a real easy way to feel confirmed in your victimhood. Or you could have the guts to say, no, I've been behaving selfishly. I was wrong. And if they go to make fun of you, you say, are you listening to me? I'm trying to tell you that I've been selfish. I've been wrong. You're not telling them they're wrong, but it can be a very useful practice to stand up for what's true, for what's right among friends who wouldn't be supportive of that view. You continue. After reading the book and watching and listening to the video chat, I felt like I've not been loving toward him. All I've been thinking of is me. Why did he do this? Why did he do that? And since then, I've even passed the Real Love book, Real Love and Marriage book, on to my sister. So after 2 days of my changed attitude, my husband texted me and broke the ice. Now, those of you who are listening, keep in mind, this is the husband who said, I'm done, I'm getting a divorce. So 2 days after changed attitude, your husband called and broke the ice. I guess we're not going to divorce. And I believe that we will not in the future, because I will be more loving toward him now, constantly remembering to fill myself, to fill him, and to fill others with real love. Whoa, honey, this is just inspiring. If we would constantly be reminding ourselves that the most important question that we can ask in a relationship is, how can I be more loving to my partner? What does my partner need? Now, does this mean that you have to give in? I hate that word, but it's the word people use. Does it mean that we have to give in to every request or demand or preference of our partner? No, it doesn't. Sometimes partners become too intrusive with the requests and demands that they make. But it does mean that if I want to be happy, I need to at least stop with every decision I make and say, am I being sufficiently loving? If my partner says, for example, I heard this the other day, partner was furious she was furious at her husband because he chewed too loud. The guy's a slob. He just somehow can't help himself. So he tries and then he forgets. So what can he do? Does he have to accede to her every request? No. He may just be a naturally slobbish person. But he could say to her, I'm going to try to work on this. Because I care about you, I'm going to try to work on it. So if I'm chewing too loud, would you just be willing to point to your mouth and remind me, instead of being mad at me? And that would help me to do it better. Or tell you what, if I'm chewing a food that is, especially lip smacking in the way that it's chewed, if you'd prefer, I'll eat it in the other room. At least you're demonstrating an interest in your partner, an interest to eliminate whatever would be an irritation to them, even though we can't always change in the ways that our partners want and don't necessarily have to. But a willingness to listen and look for ways to be more loving is everything. In fact, it's that process of trying to be loving that really makes the difference. It's not the individual little actions that we modify. This next viewer says, my sister is currently engaged and plans to get married within the next few months. Recently, I sent her a sample chapter of the Real Love and Marriage audiobook, along with a web link to the Essentials video. Since she listens to audiobooks regularly, I thought this would be a relatively non-threatening means of introducing her to the principles. I get asked this a lot. What's the best way to introduce real love to the people I know? Giving them a sample chapter? What a great idea. Pretty unobtrusive. And as long as you don't then follow it up by pounding them and saying, so, did you read it? Did you read it? Now, that's intrusive. But simply sending them a sample chapter, what a cool thing. If they really want to hear it, they will. If they want to read it, they will. If they don't, they'll throw it away and you haven't lost a thing. Or you might even tell them things you learned. You might say, I've learned that when I blank, whatever it is, I'm being selfish. I'm not thinking about my partner, and it detracts from the love in our relationship. Then, if the person you're talking to, your sister or whoever, is interested, they'll say, whoa, that's cool. Where did you learn that? Then you could tell them, well, I read it in a book, or I saw it on a set of DVDs, or however it is it was delivered to you. So, offering little bits, not pushing the fact that you offer little bits and insisting on follow-up and telling what you have learned are very effective ways of sharing this message. Then you continue. Later, when she came to visit, my sister, she mentioned that she had watched some of the video. And when I asked what she thought, she rolled her eyes, scrunched up her face, and said, that guy, meaning Greg, me, was kind of weird, which is true. Then you continue. On some level, I wasn't particularly surprised or offended. This kind of response is pretty typical of my sister. You're a genius. See, her comment, that guy's pretty weird, isn't about me. I don't take it as about me. People occasionally say, that's just garbage, what you're teaching, it's foolish. Okay. What they're doing is describing themselves. They're saying, I live in a certain way, and what you just described doesn't fit in that way at all. So it is weird, stupid, strange, whatever. If we live in a certain way, and we hear a certain principle that isn't compatible with that, there aren't a whole lot of choices. We can either conform our lives to the principle, that takes work, or we can dismiss the principle. Or, even easier, dismiss the messenger. Say that there's something wrong with the person who taught it to us, and now we don't have to listen anymore. So what your sister did is very common and understandable. And real love does seem kind of weird compared with the ways of the world. Everywhere we go, people are trading imitation love. Husband and wives are doing it with each other. Lovers are doing it with each other. Parents are doing it with their children. Co-workers are doing it at work. Our whole planet is a trading of imitation love, virtually. So when somebody comes along and says, oh, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this picture, it's pretty difficult to teach a principle that goes against the way that everybody lives. They would only naturally say, that's weird. So at least you understand her better. You continued. I responded that initially the whole real love concept seemed weird to me too, but that maybe it would make more sense if she read the book from the beginning. And then I told her I have a copy if she's interested. In retrospect, that was probably dumb and maybe selfish thing for me to say. I mean, after all, didn't she just tell me that she was not interested when she said the guy was weird? Seems kind of obvious now, but I was blind to that at the time. Yeah, maybe. You didn't push it. It doesn't sound like. You said, well, I've got a copy of the book if you want to read it. It's not like you pounded her. You said it to her today, and then you called her the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and asked her if she'd done it. Part of you really wants to help her. You see that she's not happy, and you'd like to elevate the level of joy in her life. So that's really gracious of you to do. People tend to get married for all the wrong reasons, and here she's about to get married, and you would love to spare her the pain of doing this wrong. So you don't need to kill yourself for maybe leaning a little bit. In fact, if you want to make a mistake, you'd probably want to make a mistake on the slightly intrusive side as you introduce true principles into people's lives. Now, why do I say that? Because on the whole, people only know their way of living. And without some kind of external influence, most of the time, people will continue the way they've learned during childhood till they die. Most people have quit learning by the time they're 12. They're finished. So if you're going to introduce something that is really new to somebody, you almost have to do it in a slightly intrusive way. You almost have to say, I have something better, or I see that you've been unhappy and I would like to offer. Otherwise, we tend not to learn new things on our own. We just keep repeating it. We are so monotonous. We will just keep doing the same mistaken thing over and over, as we've proven billions of times now as a collective human family. So you said, now I'm asking the question of why I had the expectation that my sister would respond well to real love. Initially, I believed I wanted to make her happy and for her relationship to survive beyond the imitation love phase. While that is true, the bigger hope was that she would love me. Well, good for you to see the truth about it. I had selfishly hoped that somehow my conditionally loving, sarcastic sister would magically become loving as a result of real love and would be happy. Well, good for you that you see the selfish part of it. You don't need to beat yourself about it. Just see it. If she accepts real love, part of you hoped that she would be happier. That's cool. That's selfless. Part of you thought, well, if she accepts it, then I will be more valuable. I'll be more useful. I'll be more worthwhile. Okay, now we're getting into a little selfishness. Again, all you need to do is note it. If she accepts real love, you might then have an easier, more loving relationship with her. And that would be kind of like half selfless and half not. I mean, part of you really would like to see her benefit from a more loving relationship with you, but the other half of you would like to eliminate, as you describe here, your conditionally loving, sarcastic sister. Again, understandable, just note the selfish part. If she accepted real love, she'd be less inconvenient to you. And kind of a more subtle one, you would get some kind of ratification that what you're doing is right. The more of us that are doing a thing, the righter we feel. So if somebody comes up with a novel idea and you're the first person to hear it, you're going to be a little reluctant, because you're going to be looking around going, well, other people don't believe this, so how could that be true? Just like it really doesn't matter whether a thing is true. If it's advertised on TV, if Oprah touts it, well, suddenly it's just truer, because there are more people who do it. That, of course, has nothing to do with whether it's true, but that's kind of how we feel. I've discovered that in doing seminars. If there's a seminar of 6 people, that's a hard room to work, because each person is sitting there going, how could this be true if there are only 6 people there here? Whereas if I speak to 1,000 people, I can't lose, because I just walk in the room and people go, wow, he really must know what he's talking about, because there are 1,000 other people here eager to hear it. We do have a certain degree of lemming or sheep mentality in us. We like the comfort of other people believing as we do. So, just see the truth. Just look for it. Admit it. Talk to other people about the truth about your motivations. And then whatever selfishness you have in your motivation won't bite you in the butt and swallow you up. If you see it, you'll tend to do it less. And that's a very cool trait that we all have when we're trying to do the right thing. And it sounds like you really are. Here's a viewer who says, I was at a place today, and I was the next one to be served. But 2 guys came in the door behind me and went by me to the counter and were taken care of by the employee who didn't know or didn't care who was next. What should be my response? Let them go ahead and not worry about it? Assert myself and let them know that I've been waiting for some time and that I was next? I can't tell you the right answer. I can tell you that if it bothers you to be used, if you have been steamrolled over and over in your life and people have walked on you and used you as a doormat and your needs have been neglected, then for you, see, this varies from person to person. For you, it would probably be a good thing, an exercise in being loving, actually, to say to the service person, excuse me, that's before they've served the two people ahead of you, excuse me, but I was here before they were. Now, the practice is in just saying that in a loving way. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to get your way. That's independent of what the service person does. If the service person then goes, yeah, whatever, and serves the other two people first, is it really worth making a fuss and very likely causing feelings of resentment and anger to come up within you over having to wait 2.5 more minutes? Probably not, huh? So it really depends on where you are. Let's say that you're a really aggressive person who always gets their way and who always has demanded justice in your life. And when people are unfair, you get them. Well, see, then for you, the advice would be different. And if somebody comes in and cuts in front of you, the most loving exercise for you would be to practice shutting up and saying 0. So it always depends on where we are and what our particular form of getting and protecting behaviors happen to be. For attackers, they need practice shutting up. For runners, they actually need practice in a loving way saying, here's what I need, or here's the injustice, which does not imply that you have to pursue it until you get justice. Sometimes the price of justice can be pretty high. We had a man who was walking in our backyard the other day, and just out there walking in the backyard, walked down the driveway and up onto the lake back there, and Donna noticed him and was concerned, well, what's he doing back there? I mean, when strange people are on your property, you have to kind of wonder, what are they going to do? If he fell off the bridge, for example, I'd be liable for him being there. What if he was drunk? We didn't know. So I walked back there to see. Now, in the past, oh my, I had such a sense of territoriality. I'd have thrown him off the place. Now, my exercise is just in asking lovingly, what can I do to help? And it turns out he'd lost his cat, and he was just wandering all over the neighborhood, and because he was concerned about the cat, he really wasn't thinking about anybody. And as I talked to him and just said, well, I was just concerned because you were back here in the yard, and he became just hateful. Just, here I'd been cordial and asked him what I could do, and he just launched into, well, what are you doing back here, and it's none of your business, and he was in no mood to listen to anything that I had to say. And he was on his way off the property anyway. So what should I have done? Well, I could very easily have exercised the, full extent of the law, and pulled out my cell phone and called 911 and said there was a trespasser. Who would win from that? So, I just said, hey, I was just back here to see what was going on. And then he became actually ugly and called me names, which, there would be such a temptation to go, wait a minute, you're calling me names and you're on my property. Not worth going into. So, within 2 minutes of the time that I went out there, he'd moved on in his search for his cat, and it was over. So, whether to push for justice really kind of depends on who you are, what you need to learn, and what the situation is, and is it worth it? Are you willing to go to the mat for waiting 2 minutes? Not very many situations where that would be worth it. Maybe if you had a child choking to death and you were having to wait your turn in the emergency room, but there aren't very many examples like that in life, are there? This viewer says, I've heard secondhand a bit of your ideas on special love. It was the story about when you and Donna were married and you talked with your kids about how you loved her more, but you didn't love them less. Even though I understand this with my head, I still get afraid. When I imagine being told that, what I told my kids, I guess, I feel unlovable. I cannot seem to hear, I still love you. I can't hear, you're not losing anything. I still find you lovable and valuable, even though I love somebody else more. I want to be loved more, and I probably demand that and expect it from everyone. I have felt much of my life that if everyone didn't like me, that I must be unlovable. Can you talk about special love and whether it's okay to want to be loved more and under what circumstances? Our whole lives we've been taught the idea, and so naturally we bought into the idea, that for love to really count the most, it has to be special. And so and it can be special in a number of ways. It can be special in that it comes from a special person. So it counts more to be loved by somebody who is rich, famous, and handsome than it does to be loved by somebody who's poor, unknown, and ugly. That's a product of imitation love. Because in imitation love, everything is counted, everything is measured. And so the more valuable a person is, the more valuable their love is. Whoa, see what a deception that is? And yet we see it reenacted everywhere. Look at the trouble people go to, for example, get an autograph. What do you think that is? Special love. And then they'll go home and they go, oh, you'll never know who I met. I mean, Britney Spears touched my arm. I'll never wash it. It's that adulation that we have of royalty, celebrities, sports figures, actresses, actors, and so on. Their attention means more than the attention of everybody else. That's one kind of special love. The other kind is to be the only recipient of love. So, hence the whole Valentine's Day thing. Remember when we were in grade school and you counted up, or in this case, maybe not the only recipient, but the recipient of the most. And you used to count up the number of Valentines you got from the other members of the class. What a horrifyingly competitive thing that made love, huh? And of course, most special is when somebody gives you all their love. Oh, we just love that, huh? A guy looks into a woman's eyes, in the movies and says, I love you. Only you. And she's going, oh. You know how sick that is? You know what the odds are that somebody would unconditionally love you and only you and not love anybody else? That would be impossible. And so if somebody says, I love only you, then what they're saying is, I get the most from you, so I'm going to sit right here at this well and drink all I can. I'm going to use you, is what that really translates to. But we've bought into that whole special love deal, and it's become pretty dangerous. In the process of insisting on special love, we miss out on so many varieties of love, and from so many people. So let's suppose that I care about you at a level of 5 on the love scale. There isn't such a thing, but we'll just make it up. The fact that I'm answering your question, the fact that I'm sitting here and thinking about you and concerned that you are happier as a result of our interaction here together, even though it's done remotely with a camera. I love you, I care about you at a level of, let's say, 5. That's a lot more than 0. In fact, mathematically, it's infinitely more. It's a ton. But now I tell you that I care about my wife, Donna, more than you. Not a 5. I care about her at a 9. And who cares what the scale is based on? 9 out of whatever. 10, 12, 50, because I'm never supposed to be perfectly loving toward anybody. But I care about you at a 5. I care about her at a 9. Does that mean that I love you 0? No. Does that diminish the 5? No. In fact, loving somebody at a level of 5 is a lot. Just because I love somebody else more doesn't affect how I love you. All that matters is you're getting loved, some, and that from enough sources you get sufficient that you feel happy. All that matters in the end is, for example, with food, is that you have enough food to be sufficiently sustained. So if I give you enough food to feed you for a day and you feel satisfied, you feel nourished, does it matter that I gave somebody else twice as much food? Doesn't even make sense. All that matters is whether you have enough. And that's how love goes. Turns out there's an infinite supply. I can love 50 people simultaneously. The degrees to which I demonstrate it may vary according to whether they're present, may vary according to their varying needs, but I can simultaneously love 50 people. And it's not doesn't diminish the love to any of them if I happen to love somebody else more in any given moment. But that's a hard thing for us to get. Another way of saying that is that if we sufficiently recognize and are grateful for love in whatever quantity or way that it comes to us, we'll find that it's all over the place and we'll have enough. I'm grateful these days when anybody loves me at a 1. That's fun. I think it's just a hoot when even like a waiter is just kind to me when he didn't have to be. That's a demonstration of love. I'm grateful when somebody would listen to me when obviously they didn't have to. Just a moment of it. These moments become transformative when we recognize them, when we're grateful for them, when we really take them in. Here's somebody who says, my boyfriend and I believe that we have real love for one another. But since the start of our relationship, we've struggled with his ex-girlfriend who has been drowning, intermittently suicidal, and required a lot of love and support from my partner. He realized that he was giving too much. He tried to take a break, but he still feels that he can give something. And he hopes in the process to find some healing for both himself and for her by figuring out what went wrong in their relationship, friendship, and work relationship. I love him, and I see that this is important to him, but after several months of supporting him through this, I'm feeling a little taken advantage of and sometimes unloved. How can I keep loving him through this? It would be easy if she wasn't in his life, but is it possible to feel and share real love if she remains in his life? I'm not going to tell you how to handle this. I'm going to tell you some potential ways that you might. You might even suggest, for example, that he watch the recording of this video chat. Because what I would say to him is this: Fred, and we'll refer to his ex-girlfriend as Susie. So, Fred, Susie is obviously unhappy. Did you cause her unhappiness, or was she unhappy before she got to you, and then you just weren't able to do anything about it? Which is it? And if you have trouble seeing that, I'll help you see that you didn't cause her unhappiness. She was unhappy long before you found her. So this is a problem that predates you. So if you simply try to figure out what went wrong in your relationship, you're still not going to get to the root of this girl's problems. She's not happy because she has not felt unconditionally loved, and almost certainly for her entire lifetime. Are you her therapist? No. Are you a rehabilitation center? No. No, she is now your ex-girlfriend. That means that she is no longer your girlfriend and you are no longer her boyfriend. So unless you're her dad, unless you're her therapist, unless you're related by blood to her, and notice that those are not mutually exclusive to be boyfriend, girlfriend, and blood related, not in Georgia. Unless you're any of those things, she's none of your business. You actually flatter yourself that you think you're responsible for making her happy. You have a relationship now with your present girlfriend that is the thing for you to focus on. What you get out of your past relationship is learning from those mistakes and learning to do it differently in your present relationship with your present girlfriend. So if you devote more than, rare moments, I mean, like if your ex-girlfriend called you up and said, so do you have a good book that you'd recommend that I read? You know, in that case, I'd take the call and I'd say, yeah, sure. Read Real Love. Read Real Love in Dating. Read Real Love in Marriage or Parenting or Victimhood or whatever. But you're not her counselor. And if you're not her counselor and you're not her boyfriend, you two don't have a relationship. Now, if you cut it off with her, will she experience some increased pain in the short term? Yes. And if you don't cut it off with her, you will actually make her worse because you will be feeding the hope in her that somehow you can rekindle a relationship. You think she's not trying to do that, but she is. She's still trying to recreate a relationship with you. And the longer you talk to her, the more prolonged this process of separation becomes. You're actually hurting her more. You think not. You think you're doing her a favor by talking to her. You're not. She's going to have to figure this out on her own. Now, what if you separated from her and she killed herself? Because, that's one of the concerns you have. What if I make her pain so bad that she dies? Honey, if that happens, she was right at the edge of killing herself anyway. So it was either going to be now or eventually when you finally realized that you couldn't rekindle a relationship with her, it was going to be then. But you didn't cause it. In the same way that I can't make you mad, you're a person of choice. You choose how you feel. You can't make her kill herself. And if that even comes up in conversation, and it must, or there wouldn't be mention here about how, she has been near suicidal and you feel obligated. If the idea that she might kill herself if you leave her has even been entertained, she's holding you prisoner. You're a hostage to her. And now you're just perpetuating another sick relationship. Except now you have a sick relationship with your ex-girlfriend, really not even an ex-girlfriend. If you keep talking to her, she's still your girlfriend. Now you have two. And you will adversely affect the health of the relationship you're in. So you lose twice. There's no yield for you to continue to have contact with this woman ever. None. Zero. You lose twice, and she loses once. Whereas if you move on to a healthy relationship with your present girlfriend, at least somebody gets a win out of this. And whether your ex-girlfriend chooses to learn from it, move on, and find real love, well, that's up to her. But staying in old relationships is so destructive. I've seen such awful effects from it. I just couldn't encourage you strongly enough to get out. I mean, completely out. That's no phone calls, no acceptance of phone calls, no listening to phone messages if they come in, no reading of emails, no reading of texts, no nothing, no carrier pigeons, zero. Otherwise, you'll be tempted. You'll just keep sticking your foot back in that poison well and affecting everybody adversely. So, let's see. Are some of the getting and protecting behaviors more loving than the others? Well, all of the getting and protecting behaviors are selfish. No matter which ones I engage in, I'm thinking about myself. And so I'm going to have the effect on other people of telling them, I don't love you. Now, depending on the person I do it with, it may come across as more unloving. So, if I'm empty and afraid, I will just do whatever it takes to film up my emptiness and to protect myself. And when you're drowning, it doesn't matter which stroke you use. You're still going to splash the water around you, and if somebody comes close to you, you're going to grab hold of them. So I'm not so sure any getting and protecting behavior I use would be more or less loving. But let's say that one of my protecting behaviors is attacking. If I attack with somebody who is a clinger and a runner, there's almost certainly going to be the effect of greater pain with that person than if I attack an attacker. So if I attack an attacker, we've just got a brief little bonfire, and the attacker leaves, the person I attacked leaves feeling more right and blah, blah, blah. So I will cause only a little more pain with another attacker. I will tend to cause more with a clinger and runner, and so my unloving behavior, attacking, will have a more unloving effect, but that doesn't mean it was more unloving in its motivation or etiology. So thank you all. It's been a lovely chat. We'll meet again in a week. I look forward to getting your emails with additional questions, issues, thoughts, whatever. Write to me at greg@reallove.com. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'm trying to think. Am I going to be in town? Yeah, I go out of the country the Tuesday after that. But we'll see you next Tuesday at the same time, and between now and then, remember that it's always about real love. See you then.